Hello and welcome to the October 2023 Gaming PC Builds of the Month. My name is Corey with Newb, computerbuild.com. Here we have the updated builds for this month. So updated every single month. We have a variety of builds that we keep up to date with price per performance in mind. So if you're looking to maximize your dollar per performance from a gaming perspective or just a overall high performing PC perspective, well, you're at the right place. And if you have a budget in mind, even better. But what we'll do is go through a variety of different budgets and give you some ideas if you have a little more to spend, that sort of thing, where you kind of fit within those budgets and kind of what you could generally expect in terms of performance. So if you've been keeping up to date month to month, there's been quite a few refinements this month. So as we go through, so stay tuned for some of those, especially in the $1,500 build, some slight improvements, that sort of thing. Nothing extraordinary in terms of new hardware that will boost performance tremendously, but costs have again, they're a little more improved this month, that sort of thing, and some better hardware overall has been included to compensate for the fact that prices have gone down a bit. So, but we're also, I'm also framing the builds a bit differently this month. So I usually go through a variety of builds. There's the $1,500, $1,000, $800, and $500 builds. However, since the builds have been declining in price a little bit and, still getting, if not the same, but or better performance for the same budgets, what we're doing is a bit of a range. And so what you'll see as we go through today, so I'm going to start with the higher end build and work our way down. So the higher end build is kind of that range of if you have somewhere to spend $1,400 to $1,500, for example. All of these builds will be at the lower end of the range, but then if you visit the site at newbcomputerbuild.com, there's some upgrade suggestions if you wanted to throw in another, a higher end graphics card to boost the performance even further. You might go a little bit over the kind of higher range budget in some cases, but for the most part, it gives you some breathing room and some flexibility. So, and then the $1,000 build, $900 to $1,000, and then the usual 800 is 700 to 800, and then the $500 build is actually right on the dot at $400, but in the range of $400 to $500. It's a bit of an awkward one because if you've been staying tuned to these gaming PC builds of the month, the $500 build, it's supposed to be that like rare, really, really entry level build. And it's always been proposed using integrated graphics, not a discrete graphics card. But it's kind of that awkward range where you add one and it significantly boosts the price a little bit. But this gives more flexibility. So it really is a $400 build. And then if you have a bit more money later on, you can tremendously increase the value of that build by putting in a cart. But we'll get to that. So let's start with the $1,400 to $1,500 build for October 2023. So jumping right into it, what we'll do is we'll go through all the hardware, kind of the price estimates for the beginning of the month here, and then also kick it off with what to expect performance-wise. So the $1,500 or the $1,400 to $1,500 build is that higher end build. This is one that you'll be able to game it with extreme settings at high FPS at resolutions of anywhere from 1080p to 1440p, and really good gameplay into 4K resolution without a hiccup. And there's always room for improvement, but there's always diminishing returns on the more you spend, that sort of thing. So you have to spend a lot more to get incremental improvements in your performance. But I'm going to kind of jump and kind of give you a bit of a rationale around kind of the graphics card, CPU graphics card combos that have been chosen to kind of target certain gaming benchmarks. And so to give you an idea of like, if you went with this build, what could you expect? But if you do have a specific game in mind that you're wanting to play, always check out the benchmarks online for that particular game, as there's certain hardware that might be more attuned to better performance in that game. But let's go. CPU for the $1,400 to $1,500 gaming PC build of the month for October 2023. We have the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X CPU. Fantastic gaming CPU for $249.99 at the moment. You could, if you wanted to save a little bit of money, go with the Ryzen non-X, so the Ryzen 5 7600 non-X. It's a bit cheaper. I think it's about $219 right now, and you can overclocking it, kind of similar performance, that sort of thing. Also comes with a stock cooler, but this one has a bit better for performance, so we're including it in this build. Moving on, like I said, no cooler included. So the cooler here is the Noctua NH-U12S Redux for $54.95. Air cooler. You can always consider other coolers if you want, but this will do the trick without a hiccup, and you can even overclock pretty decently with it too. Motherboard we switched it up this month to a better motherboard, actually. So to the MSI Mag B650 Tomahawk Wi-Fi gaming motherboard for $217.99. So has integrated Wi-Fi as well. Also a solid board for this build. Graphics card is the Gigabyte GeForce RTX 4070 WindForce at $549.99. The 4070s went down slightly this month, so that's great. And then I just want to jump over to here. If you're watching this as a as a clip right now, you'll see. So I'm showing Tom's Hardware's. They have this chart, I guess, that maps out all of the cards that they've kind of tested, and I just want to point out some things as we go through. So the card for this one is the 4070, right? So we have the 4070 here. And where they have it here is in the top left. Can I zoom in? I can't really zoom in, but the 4070 is in the top left. And what they have is kind of an estimated frames per second based on their benchmarks. And they have it at, just over 120. And this is at 1080p Ultra. But if we kind of switch over to, if you wanted to play at 1440 or 2K resolutions at Ultra, and like that's the maxed out settings in games, you're targeting with the 4070 like 100 FPS. So you're still swimming pretty good. And then if you look at like some upgrade alternatives, like if you visit the site here at Newb Computer Build, what's recommended is something like maybe a 4070 Ti as an upgrade. It's a bit more and it's come down in price a little bit. That's, probably the next best upgrade if you go with the NVIDIA side of things, or if you wanted to go over to like a 7900 XT, you can see that those both get over 120 FPS at 1440p without an issue. So yeah, let's jump back. So the memory we have for this build is the Crucial Pro RAM 32 gig kit, 16 gig sticks of 5600 meg transfers per second, memory $79.99. Storage is the Crucial P3 plus NVMe 1 terabyte SSD, $41.99. Power supply, we switched the one up in this build just to kind of give, this is a solid power supply, but also at a very, very good hard to pass up price right now at $99.99. So this is the Cooler Master MWE gold rated 850 watt power supply, also fully modular. The case, again, this one's switched up for this build this month. This is a solid case. I like this one, the Fantex Eclipse G360A. It it has a nice mix of everything, a nice mix of style, airflow. Comes with 3 RGB fans, a RGB controller kind of on board. It's also comes at a great price, so $99.99 at the moment. And so this build, like I said, targeting those budget ranges. At the beginning of October 2023, this build comes in at $1,396, so almost right on that $1,400 mark. So again, room for upgrades. If you do want to jump up your graphics card a bit, there's flexibility for that, or if you need more storage, whatever it may be. But if you want some ideas, visit the site here at newbcomputerbuild.com. Moving on to the next build. This one is what used to be the $1,000 build, but again, $900 to $1,000 build for October 2023. Here we have the CPU is the AMD Ryzen 5 7600, so that's that non-X Ryzen 5 CPU at $218.98, so it is around that $219 range, and it does come with a cooler. Included with this one is the AMD Wraith Stealth cooler, so no cost associated with that, but you always have an option to upgrade should you want more customized cooling or whatever it may be in the future, but you can always swap that out pretty easy if you don't buy one now. Motherboard is the Gigabyte B650M DS3H at $134.99. The graphics card for this build is the Gigabyte GeForce RTX 4060 Ti at $399.99. So I didn't really kick this build off with what the expected performance, but with this build, you can, you should generally expect to target kind of extreme settings at 1080p and play quite well at higher settings into 2K resolutions. So let's do the same thing that we did for the last build and just jump over to this little chart that Tom's Hardware has. And, this isn't the kind of end-all sort of chart, but it gives you a good gist in terms of what to expect. And you can kind of cross-reference with other benchmarks out there too, but this is the 4060 Ti. So let's jump back over. They have it sitting at, if you're going to play 1080p Ultra, 4060 Ti, you're going to get over 100 FPS. Without an issue. And then if you wanted to play over to 1440p Ultra, and this is like maxed out, you can always scale settings down, but this is like maxed out. 4060 Ti will get you just under that 80 FPS mark. So not too shabby at all. And this, this build would probably suit most people's needs without an issue. And then if you kind of look at upgrade ideas around there, like the 40, oh no, hang on there. Let me just jump around. Yeah, 4060 Ti. You could kind of upgrades. If looking at this chart, viable upgrades would be something like the RX 7700 XT would be a great one from AMD, or the 4070 jump straight to that and even more performance. Or if you wanted to go with kind of the older architecture, 3070 Ti even, it would get you incremental increases in performance. But let's jump back over. So graphics card, like I said, 4060 Ti. Memory for this one is Crucial RAM, 16 gigabyte kit, 2 8 GB sticks at 4800 megahertz, $39.99. Storage is the Crucial P3 1 terabyte NVMe SSD at $42.99. The power supply, this is the same. You can't really pass this one up this month. It's a good price. $99.99 for the Cooler Master MWE, 850 watt gold rated power supply, fully modular. You don't need 850 watts for this one. So if you can find a cheaper power supply that's more like 650 or 600, 650, that sort of thing, you can probably go with that, or a higher rated power supply should you want to, but this is a great recommendation for this build for this month and hard to pass up at that cost. Case for this one is the Zalman S2, $54.99. This comes in just shy of $1,000 at $992, so within that range for October 2023. Moving on to the second last build for this month. This is the $800 gaming PC build of the month for October 2023. So this build will sit in the range of $700 to $800. So the performance expected for this one, games smoothly at high settings and FPS at 1080p resolutions in most games with this kind of best $800 gaming PC build. So this is kind of a standard kind of, I would say, every person sort of build. So let's jump into it. CPU we have here is we're going with Intel for this one, the Intel Core i3 13100F CPU at $110.99. This one comes with a cooler, the Intel laminar cooler. So, it's included, no cost there, but you can always upgrade your cooler in the future should you need to. This should do the trick for now. Motherboard here is the Gigabyte B760 MDS3H motherboard at $129.99. Graphics card for this one is the Power Color Radeon RX 6700 XT at $319.99. We included this one in this build last month as well, and it's actually come down in price quite a bit, so making it an even better value now. And like with the other builds this month, I just kind of want to jump over to this chart from Tom's Hardware just to give you an idea. So the 6700 XT, where does that sit on this chart? So it's kind of in the middle range of all the cards that we're having kind of shown. So if we jumped up to the $1,000 build that we just kind of went through, you had the 4060 Ti in there. So that one sits just above the 6700 XT. Right, so it's a bit more, whatever it was, $60 more, something like that. You get a bit more FPS at that 1080p Ultra range than the 6700 XT. Gets a little bit less, which is why it's in this build. And then if we go to 1440p, it's even same thing, but less FPS. That we're looking at maybe, what is that, 70 FPS on average, maybe. So not too bad if you still wanted to play 1440p. So this build's kind of on the precipice of playing 1440, but it's still possible, without an issue depending on the game probably. So moving down to the memory for this build is the Corsair Vengeance LPX 16GB kit, 3600 MHz memory, $44.99. This is DDR4 memory here. Storage is the Crucial P3 1TB NVMe SSD for $42.99. And then we have a 500 watt, this is the 600 watt Thermaltake Tough Power GX2 power supply for $64.99. And then the case to bring it all together is the Zalman S2, $54.99, coming in at $769, well under that $800 or well within that $700 to $800 range for October 2023. Now let's move on to that best $500 gaming PC build. This one's interesting, and it's the best, I would say the best $400 to $500 gaming PC build because it sits on that $400 range, which you'll see in a second as we go through the build at the end. So it leaves a lot of upgrade potential for the future. But this build uses integrated graphics on the Ryzen 5 5600G. So you can expect kind of to game at 720p to 1080p resolutions, but it won't be the best, but it's possible. And what's even more possible is adding a graphics card later on, which will tremendously boost your performance. So depending on your budget, you can keep that in mind. If you can't afford it now, you can afford it later, that it's, an easy upgrade. You just plug and play. So let's jump into it. So the CPU, like I said, AMD Ryzen 5 5600G for $116 right now. This is way down in cost right now. So again, a way better value at the moment. The cooler included. This one's included, so no cost. AMD Race Stealth cooler. Motherboard is ASUS TUF Gaming A520 Plus Wi-Fi motherboard. Micro ATX board, $99.99. Memory here is the Corsair Vengeance LPX 16GB kit, 3600 MHz kit, $44.99. Storage, Crucial P3 1TB NVMe SSD. Plenty of storage for this build at $42.99. Power supply is the Thermaltake Smart 500 watt power supply. Basic bare bones sort of power supply that does the trick for $39.95. And the case is the Zalman S2 mid-tower case for this one for $54.99, coming in at $399.99, so $1 short of that $400 range, so right at the lower end of this budget, so leaving lots of upgrade ideas for the future, or upgrade potentials, sorry, for the future. And if you do want some of those ideas, again, like I said, I keep throwing it out there, visit the site, or leave a comment, like ask questions like, would this be compatible with this build, that sort of thing. I'm more than willing to kind of respond to those. But yeah, that does it for the best gaming PC builds of the month for October 2023. Best of luck building your next gaming PC. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Otherwise, I'll check you out next month.